You're listening to Edging the Truth.
Welcome to another episode of Two Steps from the Edge, presented by Edging the Truth, a podcast that we do bi-weekly here and kind of hit a couple of small little conversations about stuff we've seen in the news. This week it is myself and Brian, and we've, strangely enough, Brian, we have both picked animal-related stories.
I don't know how I feel about that. Is this,
Well, I
is
feel like
this kind of podcast? Is it that
we've
kind of
always
podcast
been
now?
we've always been a little slim on the cryptozoology front. We've done Bigfoot, but we haven't done the Loch Ness Monster. We haven't done El Chupacabra or the Jersey Devil or any of these kind of things. And I saw an article in the news this past week. These ones always give me a little bit of delight. A mystery animal was caught on camera.
Oh, I looked at that story this week too. It's like a fucking hippo. Okay, it's like
It's a very strange story. This is the version of it from CBS News, believe it or not.
I believe it.
Mystery animal caught on camera in Texas State Park prompts investigation. Now, the first thing I will say about this has happened in a state park. Aren't park rangers supposed to know this shit? I mean, if anybody's supposed to know what animals are in different parts of the country, wouldn't you think that would be the person?
Well, and it's like it's not like I felt like this story. I thought it should have been like up north. If it was like a Washington or like one of the other states, like it came down from Canada or
Yes.
something like that. But this is Texas. It's and all I gotta think
Yes.
of, it's some animal that got out from somebody's place. I mean, but it looks like a little hippo, doesn't it?
It's
It
a
looks like a
big,
hippo.
weird thing. Now, the upshot of this story, and obviously people had all kinds of funny comments. This originally was posted via Facebook. But the upshot is that this is supposedly an American badger. And an American badger is not usually looked to be this scale to me. This thing looks big, like an arm load if you were to try to carry it, like a pig, right?
Like an arm load, and that's what I'm saying. I mean, I would honestly, I saw it, I was like, it's just a feral pig because they have that huge problem with that in Texas. But then I was like, but then also recently I saw that whole Colombian drug dealer story where all these hippos that what was the big Colombian drug dealer? Damn, I can't remember his name. But he had all these hippos down there, and they have no natural predators, so they're just screwing. So they had to like relocate all those hippos to like India, and they sent up to Mexico to zoos. But like that's what I felt like. So it's like that guy's got hippos. They got out. They're multiplying. It could just be a hippo or something like that.
I just think it's fascinating that in the year 2023 that there are still animals out there walking around that people are like, what is that? Like, really? Wasn't there like decades of exploration around the planet to catalog every animal and species and things like that? Like, isn't that why Darwin originally left?
They're still finding X amount of species a year. Like there's still new species being discovered on land all the time. We see they in the sea, under the sea.
Yes.
There's like 70% of that shit we ain't explored. So
and that's why when there's one on land, to me it's fascinating, because I think we all accept that there's lots of undersea life, especially the super deep Mariana Trench types places where the people just don't go on a regular basis, and places that don't have light, and many a movie has been spawned from these ideas. But when it's on land, when it's in a place that people go, when it's in a state park that people visit and go camping and that sort of thing, and there's an animal that nobody knows what the heck it is.
Well,
that's awesome to me. I love it.
But people also be doing stuff, that could be a badger, but somebody shaved that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like this was in Texas, people be doing stuff, and like it could be an animal that had an allergic reaction, all his hair fell out because it's eating a bunch of fucking human food,
or just responding to the weather. Like it just doesn't look like that, and it's
But there's so many things that it could be, and it's just and a crossbreed of something and something else, which does happen. I mean, I'm wildly speculating, but
It doesn't look to me. It doesn't look like what was described. It just was described as being. First of all, so when they said, I looked at a lot of pictures after I saw this story. I looked at a lot of pictures of different badgers. I'm familiar with badgers up here in the Northwest. I've never seen one that looked the scale of this thing. This thing, like you said, looked like a baby hippopotamus in scale. Like a tiger. An adult tiger. Big.
But it's a low rider. That's why I said hippo, because it's it's got them stuff.
It's more or an anteater, or of that kind of ilk. Those kind of long, sloopy kind of
taper, perhaps.
Yeah, it's definitely a weird thing, and if it's a badger, it's unlike any badger I've ever seen. And of course, there's again all kinds of conjecture because it was taken on a game camera and at exactly what time and blah blah blah.
Is this a Mid-Journey? Did somebody do it? Are we creating controversy? Should we be making Mid-Journeys of like night vision camera, Texas State Park, and putting that shit out and seeing who people pick up?
I've already prepped for an upcoming episode on El Chupacabra, and namely because it's in the news. Netflix just came out with an El Chupacabra based movie, and I made some mid-journeys of El Chupacabra based on its actual description, and they're terrifying. It's awesome. I'm like, oh, these images are great.
See, you got to do photorealistic night vision trail cam, and like we got to put that shit out. We got to put that shit out because I don't know. It's in the end, I feel like it's an explainable animal, but I don't think it's
for
a
sure
discovered country.
No,
because we always see one, and one means they ain't having sex. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's yes. Either it's an anomaly, or it's some kind of bizarre crossbreed, or it's just a really fat animal that's grown for a long time.
A shaved animal, yes. Because I've seen all states of just a cat. I've seen some sausage dogs. I've seen some big old units of many a thing. Hell, I love watching those moose videos when they're like walking down the middle of the road and they're like bigger than the big extended cab trucks. I'm like, God damn, moose is big.
I watched that silly channel, what's it called? Vet Ranch on YouTube, where they just take in the worst of the worst of the worst animals to try and rehabilitate them. And these animals, in some cases, they don't even look like they have fur anymore. It's so gnarly. Like in
the arms of an angel,
dirt and scabs and
for only $1 a day, you can save this dog. Come on, I've seen the commercials. Right?
Yes, exactly right. Well, the story that you brought, Brian, is actually a little bit more grounded in truth, maybe. Also, not so fictional, maybe. I think that the fact that we both hit on animal things this week, I think is funny, and will definitely make for a great episode cover. But this could affect a lot of people. Well, we have this is a farm kind of based story, right?
I'm going to bring up the article here. Really, let me show you this, because I don't know if you noticed this, Red, where this article is from. Fortune magazine. So the conspiracy is people are over the price of eggs is a conspiracy theory that these companies are putting like genetically modified or treated chicken feed on the market, replacing all the stuff on the market that's going to like public, like America, with this chicken feed that makes it so their chickens don't lay eggs. And they say that's what's causing this shortage of eggs, which is why the price has gone up. When I think the reality is the more thing is, a bird flu done wiped them all out. I know how those chicken places go.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, dude, we did a story on my other podcast, Blatheria, shout out, about this dude in China who got thrown in jail because he shined a flashlight on his neighbor's chicken farm. And it's apparently chickens so dumb that like they trampled each other, and like the weight of chickens crushes the bottom chickens, and he killed like 1,000 of this dude's chickens by shining a flashlight on them. Literally by shining a flashlight. So it's like
that's not good.
They're kept in these, conditions where it's these big, things. And so bird flu and stuff, when they get those diseases, it goes rampant. Mm-hmm. I think people shouldn't be worried that they're feeding the private chickens tainted feed. It's when we're feeding the chickens in these places a mix of feed and antibiotics and all kind of shit because they're just trying to keep these motherfuckers off the flu so they can sell them. I mean, it's like, it's the worst it's like if we all had COVID and all just went and sat in a gymnasium for our like 6 months. It's like everybody's got it.
It's a giant incubator.
People. But it's like we had chickens growing up. I had chickens, and you know how we got chickens? The neighbors had chickens. They came over, laid eggs. Those ate chicks. We had chickens. Like that's what happened. And like, I just can't see a grand conspiracy of them tainting the FDA alone. All right. I don't think the FDA would go. I think if it was tainted, they would be testing that shit. I feel like somebody tests that. That's some person's job somewhere to test chicken feed. We test everything. Like if like milk, especially, like that's why I never mind drinking milk. It is one of the most tested things. They tested at every stage of the milk delivery from each place all the way to the plant. And if there's any problem at any stage, they throw it all out. Yeah. So it's like, they throw away so much milk if there's any hint of something. So it's like, especially with this, I just can't see them doing that with chicken feed. And it's and every brand of chicken feed, like,
and it affects every brand of, place that produces eggs. Like everybody buys from the same 1 or 2 places. And so there's organic places that don't buy from that stuff. There's small batch farms where you go to a farmer's market. Those aren't going to be affected.
And because they don't eat, they let them chickens run out and eat bugs and stuff in the yard, like they're not feeding them necessarily feed. And it's just, I just can't see this being as a big now. The bird flu, yes, they wiped a lot of chickens out. That's what makes shit more expensive. I mean, it happens in a lot of our different animal populations. But but also you don't even know the scale of chickens we go through in America. It's a lot of chickens. But I mean, have I seen the $9 eggs at the store? Yeah, I've seen them. I still see the $3 eggs at the store. Like it's just the generic brand's still cheap. So it's it's not as cheap as it was, but
it's not going to stop me from fucking
and
buying
Costco
eggs.
Still sells 3 dozen for $7. So it's like I don't know what you guys are. It's like
is there supposed to be some health ramification too of this getting passed on to us if we eat these eggs that have been?
I grew up with fresh eggs. Fresh eggs are good eggs, it was always the brown eggs. It's just that's what we had, and it's eggs is eggs. And just people are brand specific. Even me, it's like I don't mind the generic, but I do like the Eggsland's Best. It is a better egg, but it's like if I was making eggs in the morning and I was, it was in my cart, I almost always get the cheap ones just because, I do get brand name on some other stuff, but with eggs, I'm just like, I don't know. Me personally, I would not spend $9 on eggs.
I don't notice. I've tried the difference. I was like, and of course, every so often people are like, oh, you got to try these eggs, ostrich eggs, or you got to try blah, blah, blah.
Man, ostrich eggs is different. I've had all that other stuff,
but I won't love eggs enough to care. And if most of the time I'm eating eggs for breakfast and it's not fine dining, I need to get some protein and food in my body as quickly as possible. And I'm going to scramble some eggs and I'm going to maybe have some potatoes or hash browns or a piece of bacon or whatever. That's it. It doesn't need to be special. And it doesn't need to be the best egg on the planet. I'm not doing that with my hash browns. I'm not buying the most expensive hash browns that are frozen and sticking those in my thing or
don't stick those in your thing.
My freezer. Yeah, definitely don't stick them in your thing. In my freezer. But I would do that. I would buy the most high-end possible eggs. I don't know. I've got friends that have chickens here in the city. If I wanted fresh eggs, I would just.
Well, and that's kind of. I feel like because from what I heard when we first had this whole thing, there was a resurgence of the local people in the farmers market selling their eggs and stuff. And it's like, so it's good for those people to get more stuff, but that's the point is that that market didn't dry up. It's just those people became more reliant, and more people went out and just got chickens. They're an attainable thing.
They are. And you don't need 10 to have eggs on a regular basis. I think that's the other thing, is that a lot of people think you need to be like really go hard to have enough chickens to have eggs on a regular basis.
And if you
don't.
can stand to get yourself a rooster, you have an infinite supply of chickens. So it's like they just keep coming. You just don't pick up those eggs, it's just you leave some there and they hatch and you have more chickens. That's how it works.
You just better hope your neighbors like to hear that cock-a-doodle-doo.
That fucking rooster. I know. We hated that fucking rooster.
I couldn't deal with that.
Those neighbors, man. Oh.
Yeah.
But we got chickens out of it. We had those for years, but it's of all this conspiracy theory, I think this is one of those ones where somebody just jammed a conspiracy in the middle of a normal economic imbalance, which we sure as fuck know over the last 2 or 3 years. There's been plenty of them.
Well, it's funny. We have been trying to research here at our podcast current topics that relate to new conspiracy theories, new theories that are coming into play. There aren't very many. It is very rare when you do a Google Trends or Google search or any of these things for anything that's not already been fairly well rehashed. Which leads me to, if you have a conspiracy theory that you think is worth documenting, we have a brand new product here at Edging the Truth. It's our conspiracy theory journal. You can get one yourself on our store at shop.edgingthetruth.com, along with a bunch of our hats and t-shirts and mouse pads and a bunch of other stuff. But we're very excited about this. And for those of you that are into conspiracy theories, this is a wonderful little journal where you can document your research, you can document your theories, you can obviously do whatever the heck you want with it. You can draw in it, you can paste stuff in, clip it, put newspaper clippings, all that kind of stuff for whatever your conspiracy theory is. I think that if you're going to come up with a conspiracy theory, you better have some documentation for it, because a lot of these things that we cover are pretty easy to debunk in about 10 minutes. Why don't we are on episode 6, which means there have been at least 12 topics now that we have come and gone in 10 minutes or less.
That's not true, because we did elevate at least one. We elevated, so it's some have made it, some have come out of the depths of the 2 steps.
Yes.
But it's few and far between. It's
few and far between. And honestly, that's where you can help us out too. If you know of a new conspiracy theory, is there something that you heard about that maybe we don't know about, that we haven't covered? We would love to hear from you. The best thing you can do is tell us about stuff that we maybe don't know about. You can call our voicemail line. It does not talk to a single real person. You can just leave your message, tell us your story, whatever it is that you like. 917-979-6071. You can let us know anything that you like, how much this part of the show sucks, whatever you want. But let us know.
No QAnon. All right.
Yeah, there are clearly some things that we've tried to stay away from.
We don't mess with that.
Yeah, we're trying to keep politics out of this podcast as much as possible.
We're not a non. We're Q.
Yes.
We're Q talking to you. Okay.
But make sure that you follow us on all our socials. You can visit edgingthetruth.com to find links to our Twitter and our Instagram and our Facebook and our YouTube. These episodes, if you're not consuming them on YouTube, are all found on YouTube via video, as well as many podcast platforms in audio format. So do what you can to like these, do what you can to share these with other people, and tell people about the podcast if you're digging it. And Brian, you have anything final to add before we sign out?
I'm going to go eat some chicken.
You heard it here first.
Visit edgingthetruth.com for more information and links to all our social media and podcast directories.